And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ, Bucky, and Rhett with you as we inch a little closer, not only to the draft, but hey, boys, it's Big 12 Combine Week, huh? Let's go. Heading out to Dallas.
Let's
Buck,
have a
time
couple
you
of
getting
days.
in? What time you getting in?
I get in, I think, at 2 o'clock.
Okay. We could have some dinner plans. Rhett, when are you getting in there?
Yeah, around that time, 3 o'clock.
Oh, boy, I smell a dinner. I smell a dinner coming our way tomorrow as we get ready for the Big 12 Combine.
Let's go. We got this. This is year 2 of this event. Fired up to get another look at some players, man.
Yep.
Never passed down an opportunity to evaluate.
Yeah, we're gonna have a chance to not only see all those guys, we're gonna talk to all those head coaches too during the week. So looking forward to that. What do we got? 3 hours of coverage, Rhett? You're on that, right? 3
Yeah,
hours?
I talked to
all the details.
by the way, Coach Satterfield today. Your old pal
nice.
over at App. It's got I think about close to a dozen Cincinnati players that'll be taking part. So I'm excited to see some of those guys. He gives some a couple of nuggets on those guys. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here as well, is get to know some of these guys and let those of you who tune in on Wednesday and Thursday once we're down there in Dallas to get a chance to better know some of these players that are going to end up on your favorite teams. That's what it's all about.
Looking forward to it. All right, let's get things cranking here. It's time for the lead block presented by T-Mobile for Business. Football needs a network willing to go the extra yard, and so do you. Go further with T-Mobile for Business. We had a new contract come down, Buck, and I wanted to get to you on this one. So when you have Derek Stingley getting a new deal, putting him at the top of the corner market, I want to go back to that draft class, right? So this is 2021, the NFL draft. These are, I'll give you the top 13 picks here. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. From that group, we've already seen now Trevor Lawrence has got paid. We've seen Jamar Chase, we've seen Waddle, we've seen Sewell, we've seen Horn, we've seen Surtain, we've seen Devontae Smith, and yet to come, I would imagine we're going to see eventually the Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater, Elijah Vera Tucker, I would guess probably gets done. I mean, that is a lot of dudes sticking and getting big deals on second contracts. That turned out to be a heck of a draft.
It did turn out to be a heck of a draft, and it's interesting that most of the guys that we're talking about are your non-quarterbacks, your guys that are your traditional position players, and how we were able to, look, I would say some teams avoided the temptation of getting a quarterback and focus on taking the best player available, and those guys have turned out to be, I would say, even better than expected. And Derek Stingley signing his deal, I just remember looking at the tape, and you had to lean on a lot of the earlier years.
Yeah, he didn't play much that last year,
as opposed to the last season. But it's like there's a lesson in that for scouts. It's the entire body of work. It's not the final season. You got to look at it all. And he was helped by the fact that we were able to look at the one-on-one tapes, him against Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. That certainly played a part in him being drafted when he was drafted.
That was my coup that year. Of getting the practice tapes.
Nice. Yeah, you had to have it. Had to have it. Hey, by the way, Jalen Phillips also got paid on a second contract, who is down there in the 18 overall. And Greg Rousseau at 30 also got a second deal from the same team. So
it's a good draft class, man, and there's more to come.
Technically, Rashad Bateman got another deal too. It wasn't like a massive one, but it was,
got a new deal.
It was an extension. Yeah,
Darisaw got a new
ahead.
Deal. It pays to get out ahead. Darisaw's a great player. Yeah, I mean, I think you get those done early, man. I every now and then you're going to be wrong. You're going to gamble and be a little bit wrong, but man, the price they do not go down when you've got good players. Man.
It never goes down, and it's going up by the week. I mean, you just sit here and think J.C. Horn signs his deal, and you look up. Derek Stingley sets a new ceiling for the position. We're finally the funny thing is, what used to be quarterback money, we're now seeing guys ascend into that range. For a long time, $20 million was kind of like that forbidden ground. Now we're seeing that $30 million is kind of like the new rate for your marquee players at your traditional positions. It's just interesting. You better to pay them earlier rather than wait, because it doesn't go down.
Just on that subject here real quick, because obviously the T. Higgins and the Jamar Chase came up here, and I will probably get to it here in a second, Deej, but like, I mean, this is, if I've ever seen a somebody trying to recreate the 2007 Indianapolis Colts. I mean, it's like you go back and look at it. Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning, Dwight Freeney, and Reggie Wayne were the top 4 cap hits on that team. They went on to win a Super Bowl, right? And so, I mean, like Marvin Harrison, 35 years old, making 12, like was the highest cap hit on that team in 07. Is kind of interesting the way that they've strategized similarly that way.
Well, look, I think what's more interesting, I think they have the same representation.
They do.
Yeah, I think they did a Mike and Mike deal. Hey, you can't tell me about one without me knowing about the other.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so we're a package. I think DJ, you talked about on Rosie's podcast, the tandem bike. Yeah, with a tandem bike, you get one or you get all. Like we're both going, or we're not going at all.
That's what I told Rosenthal. I was like, he and we're going to get to this free agency stuff and where we go with the draft here in a minute. But he was like, I don't know, the Bengals defense stinks. They haven't signed anybody. I'm like, hey man, when you're a kid and you have an allowance and you're saving up and you want a bike, but you go to the toy store and you go, Mom, I want a video game. You can use your allowance, but you ain't ever getting that bike. You go shopping for the video game. I'm like, they saved up all their money, didn't spend any of it in free agency, and they went and spent on those 2 shiny new bikes that they got. Maybe have a chance to get a 3rd bike here with Hendrickson, but but that's gonna, let's wrap this top part because I want to get to this next part of the discussion here. That's a wrap for the lead block presented by T-Mobile for Business. Football needs a network willing to go the extra yard. So do you. Go further with T-Mobile for Business. So Buck, I've put together some questions, some draft related questions I was thinking about. I gave Rhett a little notice on this one, but I like getting the raw reaction. So this is like some of the takeaways that I have as to where we are now. And this one was not at the top of the list, but just coming off that conversation, I'm going to move it to the top of the list. Cincinnati now, with what they're doing, and because they couldn't be real active in free agency because they want to take care of these guys. My question is, when you look at them defensively last year, 25th points per game, 25th, tied for 25th in sacks as well. Terrible on the defensive side of the ball. So my question is, you guys can both hit it. Buck, you're up first. Is this an all defense draft? We've seen teams do a draft on one side of the ball. Is this, hey, we got to solve all of our problems on defense in the draft, and we got to scout them and we got to develop them once they get here?
Yes, I think so. And I think Trey Hendrickson, if they're able to sign him back, it makes perfect sense. Red brought up the Indianapolis Colts and how they constructed their team to be a Super Bowl champion. The Cincinnati Bengals might have tipped their hand when they hired Al Golden from Notre Dame. Al Golden just spent a couple years dealing with some 18 to 22-year-olds, getting them up to speed, getting them to play defense at a high level. So the teaching and schematics and all that, he certainly understands how to get that age group ready to play. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, let's be real. The only reason why they didn't go to the playoffs a season ago is like they got off to the slow start. If they can figure out how to start faster, whatever their issues are on defense, that offense can light it up. And I think what you do now is you coach your team differently. 30 points has to be the magic number every week. You put the pressure on Joe Burrow and those guys on the outside. We got to get to 30. Then defensively, we're just trying to not let the big play go and find a way to rush the passer. To me, they are a carbon copy of what the Colts were able to do to be a top team in the AFC for a decade.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would agree with you on that front. And so, I'm kind of interested to see where this thing goes as we kind of look, forward to where the Bengals are, looking at where they sit right now. We got them at, where did I
17. They picked 17.
17. That's right. 17. They don't have a ton of picks, right? But
they always have their pick in their round, man. The Cincinnati Bengals are meat and
that's kind of where it is.
They have the same dinner every night when it comes to the draft.
Yep. So, I think you could find, you're going to you could find one of the best, one of those D linemen, whether that's an edge guy, whether that's one of the interior guys, you're going to have an opportunity there. I think this is an opportunity for the Bengals to get a lot better on defense in this draft.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I got a mock draft coming out tomorrow, and it's just one pick. We can give away one pick. So Mike Green, I just had Mike Green from Marshall is someone to throw on the other side there. Let him rush. And again, to Bucky's point, if you're hunting for 30 points, guess what? We're going to put a premium on guys who can rush the quarterback. We're going to play with the lead. So let's maybe we got to give a little bit against the run. If we got to do that, that's okay. We're going to go hunt the quarterback. And that's really what the Colts did. The Colts built their team for their stadium and for their offense during those years.
Right.
Undersized, fast. rush the quarterback. If you could get on them, if you could get a lead on them, you were in a pretty good spot.
But they
you
had
got
some younger
behind, you're in
players
trouble.
that contributed, right? That were draft picks. You go back to Bob Sanders, you go back to Joe Adai and Anthony Gonzalez, and like they had younger players filling those kind of gaps, and that's exactly what Cincinnati's going to have to do here.
And it all worked together because remember, Tony Dungy's defense was super simple, so young guys could jump in and play.
Mhm.
Not a lot of thinking, just see ball, get ball. I am sure in Cincinnati, it will be something that is young player friendly to allow them to get those young defenders on the field. Because look, the onus, whether they win or lose, will depend on the big three. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they got to play great every week for this team to win. Look, that's where the money goes.
All right, so that was one of the questions, guys. I wrote down some more here because these are things that are dominating my thoughts right now. So I've got my own thoughts, and I kind of changed a little bit from day to day. I want to get some fresh perspective from you guys on this one. So, Buck, again, you're batting lead off here because this is the one that I just keep thinking about. The Cleveland Browns. Here we go. So we're in the draft room. Picture it. We're in the draft room. We got the whiteboard up there. So here's what I'm writing up on the whiteboard. You ready? I've got Shedeur Sanders and Nick Scorton. And underneath that, I've got Abdul Carter and Tyler Shuck.
You know my
Brett's
answer.
chomping at the bit to get in here. That's why I want to get Bucky. I want to get your unfiltered thoughts on that one.
Now, are you saying second round for Shuck at this point?
I'm saying these are your first two picks.
Whatever.
You either take Sanders with the first pick and you get Nick
it.
Scorton as your second round pick.
Okay.
Or you take Abdul Carter with your first pick and you get Tyler Shuck with your second pick.
I'm just fascinated by the combination of having two dominant pass rushers and coming off of the conversation where we just talked about Cincinnati loading up offensively. Baltimore is loaded on offense. I mean, who knows what Pittsburgh can do, but they go and get DK Metcalf. I think you just have to take Abdul Carter to give yourself a chance. And then in Tyler Shuck, look, man, you're taking a chance on an older player, a 7-year college player, but he's as talented as they come. When you look at him compared to that tier, he's certainly there. It's just a matter of like who's the guy that he's competing with for the starting job.
Yeah, and I do find that part of it, kind of interesting to see a lot of the talk and a lot of
older
the
than Kenny
conversation.
Pickett. I don't even
What's
know.
that?
I have to go look that. Well,
They're probably about the same age.
Kenny Pickett,
Yeah,
right?
they're probably about the same age.
I don't care how old he is.
Yeah.
Like the Browns haven't had a quarterback in 20 years. Like they'll take one for 5 years.
Oh, Baker took him to the plaplayoffs. I can't let you get away
fine,
with that.
but he's no longer there.
Yeah.
I mean, like they had a chance to keep him and didn't. I don't know, man. I don't care about the age thing on that one with me. And I would lock in Abdul Carter. I feel better about Abdul Carter than I do Nick. Like I feel better about Abdul Carter being that much better than Nick Scorton, and I feel like Shedeur and Shuck are closer.
That's the whole thing to me. Is that's how I would frame the argument. Is like, and people say quarterback trumps everything. Just take your best quarterback. That's that side of the argument, right?
Yeah.
My thing is the gap. But like you're hitting a home run with Abdul Carter, and Nick Scorton's a nice player, but they're not even on the same planet. And then Tyler Shuck, I can say he's got a stronger arm. He's bigger. He's more athletic. Like he's got a lot of things in his column, favorably. I don't know that I could say Nick Scorton does one thing better than Abdul Carter does. So you're getting an elite player, and you're going to have on the opposite side of the most talented edge rusher that maybe we've ever seen in the NFL. So you're going to get one-on-ones with him. I mean, Abdul Carter's going to have 14 sacks as a rookie if he goes to Cleveland. And the other thing is, Buck, you know him as you know him, like, maybe not as well as I do, but you know him. Telling you, man, Jim Schwartz in that draft meeting being like, boys, you don't understand. I know the court. I know. Find another quarterback. Just find one. Because you only need to score 17 points a game.
This guy.
You don't need to score that.
Now,
you give me him.
Yeah.
Let him rush opposite of Myles Garrett.
Oh. By the way, in talking to, I'm sure you guys have talked to some folks at Penn State, but I was talking to Tom Allen, who was there and facilitated the switch down to edge full time for Abdul Carter, and was like, never had to push that dude. Never had to press him to get like that. Dude practices as hard as anybody on that team that year that Tom was there. Like he is as hard a practice player as he is a game player. And we saw that throughout the playoffs. That is a tough dude who is really still scratching the surface of what he can be as an edge. right?
Yeah.
This is a year. We're talking about a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, this is an interesting discussion, and this could very well be a discussion with the New York Giants at 3, saying that if the quarterback goes 2, if Sanders were to go 2,
Yeah.
then the Giants would be faced, if the Browns were to take somebody else and Shedeur falls, now you have to say, okay, maybe they're hunting the same guy, maybe it's Jackson Dart, whoever it is, but they're now looking at, well, is Travis Hunter? Do I want Travis Hunter in a next tier quarterback?
Right.
Like that whole conversation it's going to be fascinating.
That's what this draft is about to me.
Yeah.
Once you get beyond Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
And at least in the top 10, like that's what these teams are going to be saying.
Yeah.
See, and I am still pausing and pumping the brakes a little bit on Cam Ward. I don't have Cam Ward like as the stratospheric quarterback that is going to solve everything. He certainly is more talented in those things. I think it's funny how the conversation has become Cam Ward and then everybody else. I'm just a little leery in going all in. But I love what we're talking about with Abdul Carter, because if we were talking, are we saying that we believe that Cam Ward is the most talented player in the draft? If we're just saying take position out of it.
I'm saying I
Who's the best player in the
feel like
draft?
Cam Ward's going to go 1. I just feel like between
No, I get it. I'm not talking about who goes 1. I'm just talking about if we were just at the park.
Oh, Cam
Ward's
my 10th player. He's my 10th.
Okay. I was just getting that. Who's your number 1 player?
Yeah,
Is it
Abdul Carter. Yeah.
Okay, so then if I'm the Cleveland Browns, if you always take the best player, you can't go wrong, because we've talked about this in a bunch of different iterations. Build up one side of the ball to be great, and that'll give you a chance. And so if we're talking about in Cleveland, we have a chance to build a great defense with Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter, who are guaranteed to grow together for at least the next 4 years. Why not go all in on that to be dominant there, and then find a quarterback, figure out that part of it. And with Kevin Stefanski, I would say, taking back over play calling duties, I think is much easier to kind of cobble together the offense using the system that is used previously, as opposed to the way that it was when he had Ken Dorsey and trying to do things to fit Deshaun Watson.
But if the Titans take Abdul Carter, the Browns are taking Cam Ward, right? I mean, like that's not going to be the same debate, right?
I feel like they would. I feel like they would. I don't know that for certain. I don't know where they are.
I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I know there's some people in the league who think the Browns are more locked in on the second tier quarterbacks than they are on the top tier quarterbacks.
That would be kind of similar.
That, Buck?
Yeah,
and then that could be them assuming also, that Cam is going to go 1.
Yeah. So I
think all the theories that, and look, it's tough because new general manager for the Tennessee Titans, his first draft, his theories are going to be tested, like best player available versus most impactful position. Which one do you opt for? Regardless of whether we talk about Abdul Carter being a generational talent or not, like in talking to some of the people there, they said they desperately need a pass rusher. Like desperately, like you can't compete, but you also need a quarterback.
Gone.
And so you just think about Abdul Carter being the best player in the draft. You bypass him. I don't know. It's a fascinating discussion. That's why I can't wait to draft weekend to kind of see how all of this plays out.
It's a hard top 50 to stack up just how you grade the players, because everybody's graded so similarly. It's hard to even get your own opinion on how you like the players. That's hard. It's impossible to do a mock draft. It's impossible, man, because you just like these guys. If I've got, 5, 6'3", 6'4" level players on the grading scale at one position, frick, I don't know which one of these dudes they like better than the other 4 or 5. You got guys that are going to go 7, and sometimes they might go 28 in these things, in these mock drafts. It's like impossible trying to put that thing together. But it's kind of a weird year. I want to get to some of these other questions here. I'll rip through them. All right, Rhett, you're up on this one. I'll hit you up on this one. Buck, follow it up. Are we greater than, this sounds crazy compared to years past, but are we a greater than 50% chance of seeing 2 running backs go in the top 10?
Greater than 50%? Yes.
Top 10.
Top 10. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You said top 10. No.
Top 10.
No.
Well, give you
I heard first round, and I
No. I think I would take it to the bank. We're getting 2 in the first round. I'm just looking where I am right now, and I'm looking at the Raiders at 6 as a potential running back team, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at the Chicago Bears at 10 as a potential running back team, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just looking at the grades of the players, and I'm like, okay, let's say Genty's gone. Genty's like my 3rd guy.
Yeah.
So now you start looking at Omari and Hampton from your Tar Heels, Buck, and I'm like, if I'm the Bears, like, okay, we've solved it. We like to think we've solved the interior of the
serious
offensive
issues.
line. So, I mean, edge rusher, like, gosh, okay, yeah, there's some edge rushers that would be interesting there, but man, there's so many of them. I know there's more running backs too, but I think the drop off between like Omari and Hampton and maybe what you would see the running backs that would be there, because I think we'll see a little run before the Bears pick again. Whereas I think there's another edge rusher that could help them. I just keep coming back to the thought process of Caleb. The offseason, free agency, Caleb. The draft, it almost feels like this. We got to get Caleb going, man. We hired the coach. We got the free agent players to come in and help him. Let's go get who helps him the most. I can't make an argument that somebody other, like if Genty or Omari and Hampton are there, that somebody helps them more than those guys do.
I was waiting to see if Red was going to jump in.
Go ahead, Red.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think you could kind of come back to the similar question with the Bears. Like, when they come back around, and I think they have 2 second rounders, if I'm not mistaken.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
Chicago they do have 2 second rounders. They have 39 and 41.
Yeah. Again, you could be talking about, Nick Scorton again in a spot like that, compared to, let's say, all right, let's say you take,
you might get I don't know if Judkins is there at that time. I just think early second round, I think we might see some of those 2 Ohio State kids. I don't know if they make it there.
Do you think the third running back does go in the first round?
I think there's a really good chance of that. I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I think there's a good chance of it. I just think you're going to see that running back. It's going to go late first, early second. You're going to see some of those dudes come off.
So success leaves clues. Ben Johnson just left Detroit, where Detroit took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. And at the time, everyone was outraged that Jahmyr Gibbs came off the board at 12. But what he was able to do is take a veteran running back in David Montgomery, pair him with a young running back with juice, and they had a dominant running game that, alleviated a lot of the pressure on Jared Goff. If we're talking about the best way to take Caleb Williams and elevate him, why not take DeAndre Swift, Amari and Hampton, put those 2 in the backfield, let them take turns, because even if one suffers an injury, you at least have another RB1 to carry. You don't have split backs, meaning a guy's a RB2. To me, if I'm the Bears, now that you've solved the puzzle on the offensive line, man, why not go get a legitimate back to really settle the offense down and to allow you to kind of play what Ben Johnson is used to playing, like running the football to set up the quarterback to really dominate in the passing game.
I mean, it's interesting. And Omari and Hampton catch the ball too. So, I mean, like there's different levels. I think it's an interesting discussion. I guess maybe the better way to phrase it, instead of greater than 50% chance, I should have just phrased it, would you be shocked? I would not be shocked if Omari and Hampton was the 10th pick in the draft. It wouldn't shock me at all. All right, let's get to a couple more. I've got like 3 more questions here. Buck, I'll get to you on this one. New England offensive line or bust in the first round. I mean, are we kind of there? Does that feel like that?
We got to make sure we protect the king, build a fortress up, make sure you have enough protection around Drake May so he can grow. You still would like to see them have more weapons, but if he is getting beat up, it doesn't matter. You got to make sure that you take care of the offensive line. And let's be honest, Mike Vrabel, it just strikes me as this is going to be a meat and potatoes type draft. It's going to be someone that is physical, that can kind of help him not only like accelerate the culture building, but also like stylistically how the Patriots going to want to play. I think it has to be a line of scrimmage player.
100%, like 100%. I mean, I thought that, even if this felt like it was too high for Will Campbell, now I feel like it might be spot on for Membu with the way that that we've seen him kind of rise.
Kind of where I'm leaning with them a little bit.
Yeah, is Membu. Yeah.
My only thing is, gosh, here's the challenge, and I guess I'll spin it into this one. Buck, if you're sitting there and because we have 2 quarterbacks that go, if that does happen, and you've got Travis Hunter sitting there versus those offensive linemen, I think that becomes a hard decision.
It could become a hard decision, maybe, but like, look, I got Christian Gonzalez. I just paid money to get Carlton Davis.
I'm talking about playing him at receiver. Travis Hunter's better than any receiver that Drake May's throwing the ball to right now.
I mean,
that's true.
That is true.
That's why it's a weird.
But
He's a weird one because your mind goes to defense, and I'm sitting here going like, "Wow, you don't even need just." He's a luxury on defense. With the Patriots specifically, I'd be like, he's the best receiver on their team.
Well, also Mike Vrabel knows that life, right? He's been a two-way player.
Yeah, he did a little bit of both.
Like he did a little bit of both. Oh no, like look at all
We
those
joked
touchdowns,
about
Brad.
it at the combine.
Like, hey, he caught a lot of touchdowns, a lot of touchdowns. Man, there's something about watching Mimbu run around though. Man,
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on what offensive lineman are we talking about taking at the top of the second round. Travis Hunter and whom? Are we taking Mimbo and whom? Like who?
I think you're looking at maybe a guard, Donovan Jackson.
Not
Potentially
bad.
that type of a player. You start
But that can
getting
work in New England though. Like that can work
Josh
in New England.
Connerly, maybe. You start getting into that group. Josh Simmons, I think, will be gone. So there's no guarantees on that. But I mean, it's just again, you kind of go back to that's the debate that we've had many, many years ago. We saw one guy who just got paid as the highest paid receiver in the NFL, who once upon a time was Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase, was all we talked about in that draft.
That's
and
right.
Joe Burrow said,
all right.
I'll take the weapon. I'll figure out the protection. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. So that's an interesting question. All right, next one. All right, let's get to Rhett on this one.
Yeah.
Seattle. Is this and we can wrap it up on this one, but
yeah.
Seattle, are they interior offensive line, proverbial gun to the head, that no choice here?
I'd love to see Gray Zabel right there at 18, if that's the case. That feels like a massive fit there. That not only helps Sam, but I mean, like I still think we haven't seen, if Kenneth Walker stays healthy, I think we'd be talking about one of the top 10 run games in the league. With especially if they continue to fortify on the interior. Now, look, I think the tackles, have been banged up a bunch too out there. And so I'd like to see those guys stay healthy. I think
specifically,
Lucas specifically, exactly. But I mean, shoot, Zabel helps you any of the five.
I had Zabel just a punch to the gut going 16 to the Cardinals.
Oh. I wouldn't be shocked if that's a Josh Simmons spot too, by the way.
Yeah. With Seattle?
No, Arizona.
Oh, with Arizona. Oh, interesting. Yeah. The offensive line coach is there, right? There you go.
Oh, his buddies.
There you go.
Yeah, look at Rick connecting the dots. With Sam Darnold, Clint Kubiak, how they want to run this offense, it's really important that they're solid up front. They need the running game because all the complementary play action, those things that Sam can work on. It's essential to be able to move the line of scrimmage. And if you can move defenders off the ball, Kenneth Walker can get going. With other running games, complementary running game that you want to use, it allows Sam Darnold to not only throw those play action passes that he's good on, but also come out the back door on the bootleg. So, let's make sure we're solid up front. For John Snyder and his crew, you want this to work because you want to run the football. And I think interior presence is where the Seattle Seahawks certainly need to focus on. Plenty of weapons will be available. You got Cooper Kupp, you got JSN. That's not the issue. The running game at the line of scrimmage.
So if I told you though, Buck, you've got Banks, who's a tackle who maybe could use inside. You've got Simmons, who's a tackle who maybe you'd want to use inside, or maybe just keep him at tackle there with what you got. Or I told you that Colston Loveland had fallen down there at pick number 18. That's where I want to build to the trenches, but I have such a higher grade on Colston Loveland as a football player. I don't know if I'd be like, hey, Sam, we got you. Somebody can get open quick. We need you to go ahead and get that thing out now. Let's get that thing out of your hands.
I mean, he's a really good player. I just have him with a lightning bolt on the side on the Vasil.
Oh, I got you.
I just think he'd be such a good.
I didn't have him getting that far. I don't think that would be his.
What about the Dolphins at 13 for the tight end?
That's an interesting one. You know who I ended up, and then again, we'll just kind of have a riff in here, but who I ended up giving to the Dolphins is someone that the longer we go through the process, the more I appreciate. Buck, do you ever have players like that? Like you kind of give them the grade, then you go through the process, and it's not like I don't even feel bad about it, but like Malachi Starks, I think I went in with the expectation because he had such a big reputation, and then I just didn't see quite the playmaking that I wanted to see this year off the tape, and for whatever reason, the Clemson game he flashed. I was like, whoa, this keeps up, man. This is a top 10 player. And then, but gosh, I know the 40 was okay. The workout numbers, like 3 cone, all that stuff wasn't great. But just watching him go through the drills, he was like the fastest in every single drill. He just the way he moved, it gave me, and I I know he didn't make anywhere near the plays that Ed Reed makes, but just watching him move and body control and things like that, he gave me some Ed Reed vibes. And then when I hear from team after team after team that his interviews were off the charts, like the football intelligence, the leadership, the communication, which is huge at that position. I'm like, this guy ain't missing, man. Like somebody in a draft with so many kind of uncertainties. That's why I thought he's going to go in the top 15 just because he's too clean of a person as well of a player.
Yeah, I think this is where the beauty pageant gets everything kind of muddied, right? Because we're always looking for the superhero that can leap tall buildings in a single bound. But don't forget, man, it's about the ball. And when you look at Malachi Starks, particularly not last year, but the year before, he's all over the place. And not the same player, but kind of the same conversation with Kyle Hamilton. When you looked at Kyle Hamilton and you just knew he's a really good football player, but the other stuff didn't work out for him. So he falls to Baltimore and becomes the player that we thought that he would be in the league. To me, I get that sense with Malachi Starks. The problem is the guy that is at his position, South Carolina kid, is a super
he's a freak.
hero. With also baller skills.
Does that kick us off with a couple of this or that's here, Deej?
Yes. I'll give you the floor because we talked about this, and we'll each kind of go through. But Rhett, why don't you lead us off, and then Buck, you got a second to get your thoughts on this one. Then I'll go second. But the struggle that you might be having at a certain position, this player versus that player. Go ahead, Rhett. What do you got?
All right, Deej. Emeka Egbuka versus Matthew Golden.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one. I have them touching each other. I think, right? I have them 15 and 17. So
to me, the resume speaks louder for Egbuka. The length of the resume, the volume of the resume, and now we're going to see. When Ohio State goes through a pro day, we're going to see what the numbers are for Egbuka. But I imagine they're going to impress us in the way that Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson did when they came out, and maybe a little bit faster than people think he is. So I just think he's such a polished professional at this point that that dude's going to come right in. And not to say that Golden can't be that, but to me that I feel a little bit more comfortable with Egbuka. That's the way I would term it.
How would you have that one, Buck?
Man, that's a good one. It's so funny. I spent all of the fall just loving Egbuka. And then of late, not only the combine stuff, but Matthew Golden, when you go back and look at the tape, you just wonder, man, what was I missing when you look at him? He's such a clean route runner. He's so spectacular with the ball in his hands. And he does have that juice. I'm leaning towards Matthew Golden over top. And I know Ohio State has just produced receiver after receiver after receiver after receiver after receiver. But I don't know, man. The Texas kid got something to him that just kind of pop for me.
Yeah, I look at the fact, a couple different things where I would go with Golden. I mean, first of all, just pure juice. He's just got more juice. Abuka's, I think, 10 pounds heavier. So, and he's strong, but Golden plays strong through the ball. They're both, I love the fact that they both get their feet in the ground. They're grounded through the catch. They're just real, they play strong for their size. I just think you get a little more juice with Golden. And I come back to two things with Golden. One is he moves up a level, basically, right? You go from Houston and then you go to the biggest stage there is with Texas. And he's much better at Texas than he even was at Houston. And then in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, i.e. season on the line, 4th down against Arizona State, whereas Steve Sarkisian's got a lot of options in that offense, and he's running it through Matthew Golden. He was making plays and saved their season. So I've got kind of that clutch factor, and then you just kind of go through the spring, and I'm like, I've seen him. I mean, I just got a chance to see him, at the combine and saw that speed, which is real. So, and you also have some kickoff return stuff too. If you want to mess with that, he can take it to the house on that. But that's a good one. That's a great example of kind of a this one versus a that one. I've got one for you, Buck. I'll hit you on this one.
Yep.
And it's not. This is again when you're doing these. We're not just talking about the top 10, top 15 players. Just like the ones that you struggle with. For me, that's a safety position in that next tier behind those top 2 guys. So to me, for the third safety, when I look at Xavier Watts from Notre Dame with all of his production and Jalen Reed from Penn State, they're almost identical in size. 5'1", 211 for Reed, 5'1", 204 for Watts. Reed ran a 4.49. So with Reed, I think he plays fast. I love his physicality as a blitzer. He still had, he got production, had 3 picks. So it's not like he hasn't done anything in the production department. He just twitched up and plays kind of hair on fire. And then with Watts, you've got the incredible production, like unbelievable ball production. But some of it is kind of ball finds him, like it's not necessarily him always making plays on the ball. The ball kind of gets to him. I think sometimes we underestimate that those guys, the ball finds them in college. It tends to find them in the NFL as well. I didn't think he moved quite as good. But we haven't seen him run yet, so I'm curious to see him run when he get that process. But man, it's hard to ignore the production. So that's the third safety for me, Buck, is a good debate.
Yeah, the third safety is a good debate. Now, Xavier Watts, the IQ, the awareness, and you talked about just the ball finding him. To me, I'm just a believer that some of those plays are made because the guy sets traps, that he understands where the ball is going, and he just finds a way to kind of maneuver and get himself to that spot. It's a good one. I still lean towards the Notre Dame kid. Like Watts to me is kind of like that safety that I love having. Maybe it's the ball production that I can't erase. Really good player. Both guys are really good players, though.
I really like Xavier Watts. The thing that strikes me is that dude doesn't miss a whole lot. Like in the open field, man, on some of those, get some of those quick screens out. I remember watching that USC game, just thinking like that dude is bringing everybody he touches is getting to the ground. Like he's not missing on guys. And I think that is a very valuable commodity in the league right now, especially with the way that we see those kind of quick hitters, trying to get yards. So I would lean slightly towards Watts.
Yeah, I mean it's an excellent debate. I have Watts. I have an exact. I gave them both 62, so I have the same exact grade on these guys. I want to see if I can pull up the tackle thing because now you got me thinking there, Rhett. So I want to.
20. It was. I think I got. I want to say he had like 8 missed tackles in a run game on the year.
Okay.
For Watts.
I'm pulling it up right now here too, so I can pull up. I just wanted to compare the tackling stuff with those two guys.
Yeah.
Let's go to missed tackles. Jalen Reed had 8. He had 8 missed tackles, and guess what? Xavier Watts had 8 missed tackles. Jalen Reed had 20 run stops. Xavier Watts had 17.
Okay.
I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like
that's tight. Yeah.
These guys are very close as players. So
yeah.
That could be that could be as simple as. That could be as simple as you bring them both into your building. You let your coaches visit with them, and who do you want to coach?
Put them back to back, right? Just like we do, like we say, one of the values.
I don't think
of the
people
combine.
realize that because everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's just this tape and this stat and this pro day. I'm like, you know what it is? Sometimes you bring him in, the coach goes, I just like this kid. I like this kid better than that kid. I want to. If I'm going to have him in my room, I'd rather have this kid. And we are never going to know that.
No.
So.
I got 2 more rapid fire
Go
ones
ahead.
if you guys are ready for that.
Them off.
Darius Alexander versus Josh Farmer. Now tackles are tougher because like there's differences in stylistically, right? But in terms of
both older, I believe too.
Yeah, a little bit. Alexander and Farmer, both guys we saw at the Senior Bowl. Farmer feels like
I thought Farmer had a better overall week there. Just in terms of the consistency, whereas Alexander flashed.
Well, and that's kind of what I feel like is what you're buying with Alexander. Like you're buying a little bit more pizzazz than you are with Farmer, who's got a little bit more of like the bulk, maybe not as much of the twitchiness that Alexander does. Maybe is a little bit less. Like Alexander's got a little bit more freaky athleticism to me.
He is a freak show on the inside. When you just see a man that size move the way that he moves, the way that he's able to create chaos on the inside. He's so good with his hands, and the way his hands and feet are tied together as a rusher to me is super impressive for an interior guy. You just don't see guys of his size kind of move around like that.
Yeah, I had Farmer 6 spots over Alexander, but I would say that is more than likely going to flip once we get down the home stretch here. And more of the reasons that kind of you mentioned there, just kind of the length, the athleticism, you get a little bit more with Alexander. And it's weird to say as somebody I think is 25 years old that you're kind of, but he's gotten better every year. Like he's just continued to get better. Yeah. So I would probably lean towards Alexander on that one at this point in time. What's the last one?
Okay. Last one I got is Landon Jackson versus Jack Sawyer.
I think I have to go Landon Jackson at this point in time. Landon Jackson aced the Senior Bowl game. He was phenomenal. Then he goes to the combine and aced the combine.
Blew that up. Yeah.
So, and the other thing is I was going back through, and I'm going to one of the ones that I would do, we won't have to do it here, but like we've kind of already talked about Mimbu, potentially having leapfrogged Will Campbell as the top offensive lineman. Golly, man, it's the Arkansas game for Will Campbell's a tough one, and Landon Jackson.
Landon Jackson is part of that.
He ate his lunch in the game. So that one was.
He's Max Crosby light. It's like that effort.
He just doesn't bend. He just doesn't bend quite like Crosby, but he is so long. Yeah. I also like the fact I think he was LSU first, right? LSU.
It was. And 2 injuries. Yeah. Came in with an injury and then got hurt.
Good one.
So that was a fun one. Any ones you come up with, Buck? Is there?
No. The one that I've had is the one that we were about to get into when it talks about the Ohio State running backs. I'm still having a tough time.
I've flipped them twice already.
I mean, between Henderson and Judkins, like trying to figure out who and what, and then you're trying to look at the tape and figure out like, well, why does this guy get the ball at this moment? Yeah. But then the next game, the other guy gets it at the same identical moment in a situation. It like the coaches didn't give me clues as to which one they felt like was the one they need to hang their hat on. Man, really good players. Both are explosive and dynamic.
Judkins ran a little faster than I thought he would, and he's heavier.
That was it to me.
Heavier, and he ran really well. Yeah, he's the closer. But then Henderson, he hits a lot of home runs.
I mean, unbelievable. There's a lot of home runs.
That's it.
That's
what I'm saying. That is a tough one. I've had him. I'll probably switch it a million times by the time we finish up there. You know what it reminded me of? Like one of the all-time debates that I had where I went back and forth on it, which is kind of funny now when you think about it. But it was Hooker, right, and Jamal Adams. Weren't they in the same?
Yeah, it was like ended up going like 3 and 15 or something for Hooker.
Adams
was way up there.
Yeah, and you had Adams, who was at the line of scrimmage and the blitzer, and then you had Hooker, who was at all that ball production on the back end. Yeah. Now, to be honest with you, I mean, and Adams had some good early years, but and Hooker's still going, he's had a long career. But I would say neither one of them, like from the impact we thought we were going to get with those guys, neither one of them really kind of.
No, because I think Jamal was 6. Malik Hooker was he 14?
Yeah, I want to say 15 of the Colts, but is in that range. And we're like, wow, why is Malik Hooker lasted so long? I remember that being one of the conversations that year.
Basketball player, natural instincts. He was making all the plays all over the field in terms of ball production. And then
I think we talked about him up there in like the top 5 overall players.
All right, so let me just see here. I just went down a total rabbit hole here. All right, let me see. Where is this at here? Career. Oh my gosh. Is this right? Oh my gosh. All right. How about this? I would have never guessed this. I don't know why. I haven't paid attention to those two guys. Give me your guess without looking, without cheating. Career interceptions, Malik Hooker versus Jamal Adams.
I would say Malik Hooker probably has
a couple good years at the Cowboys, I want to say.
20. Can we get to 20? Can we get to 20 interceptions?
Oh no.
Malik Hooker has 14 interceptions.
10.
Still okay.
It's pretty good. 14. Okay.
Jamal Adams has 4.
Oh,
I knew it was less than whatever. His thing was, like with the Jets.
I feel good. I had Malik Hooker in that one. I thought I lost that one overall.
No, like Jamal's thing ended up being when Greg Williams made him a pseudo linebacker in sack production, and then he carried that on to Seattle. Mm-hmm. And then the injuries, and then he couldn't acknowledge what he is. And that's why he said issues.
You want to know what's crazy? So in Seattle, he had 9.5 sacks, right? Think about it. This is how weird the league is. And injuries obviously play a part in it. So he's an all-pro, second-team all-pro, Pro Bowler. 9.5 sacks in 2020. And at that point, he's 25 years old. Do you know how many sacks he had after that?
Probably 1, right?
3?
I have 0.
How many won? So the Seahawks traded more first-round picks for Jamal Adams than sacks that he had to get him out of New York. Is that right?
Well, the 9.5 sack year was the
first year.
That was in New York. That was
in New York. That's what I'm saying. So Seattle traded more.
No. He had 6.5. He had 6.5 with the Jets, and then his first year in Seattle, he had 9.5.
Okay, so it paid off for him a little bit. for you.
His first year, that's that first year. He's a Pro Bowler, second team All Pro, 9.5 sacks. And then from that point on, he did not have a single sack and did not. Let me see, where's interceptions? And then he had 2 interceptions after that. After the age of 25, no sacks, 2 picks. Man, injuries I think had to have been a big part of that. But I did not think we were going to do the Malik Hooker, Jamal Adams discussion today.
Do you want to do Goff versus Wentz?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a tough loss for me on that one. Bucky was team Goff. All right, he got me good on that one.
Well, look, that one's had some ups and downs now. Okay.
The other one, Buck had a couple big wins the early path to the draft years when we were. That's what it was. Every year we had to pit. It was like this guy versus that guy.
I lost the Vic Beasley debate.
Beasley, but I think you might have won Vic Beasley because I don't even remember who I had. But I don't think he did anything.
It was Dante Fowler. I think, right?
Oh, that was it. Maybe it was.
Dante Fowler's he's still playing.
I can't. It was a good comeback for me. That was a good comeback for me. Early on was not looking good for me. On that one.
Guys, that was the Seahawks. By the way, just 2 first-rounders and a third for Jamal Adams.
I know that was a heist.
Man, I thought he was going to be Pete's version of Troy Polamalu up there.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to play. I thought he was going to play down in the line of scrimmage like Troy did at SC and make a ton of plays. And he did that first year, and then
that was it.
Yeah, not great. You know what's going to be funny is all the debates. You know, we're talking about that 2021 draft. Think about. And Buck, you kind of mentioned it about the quarterbacks, but like how much time we spent on Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Like we knew Trevor was going to go number 1, but with that whole draft process was about talking about those four other quarterbacks.
They're all on their third team.
Yeah, third, at least their third, right?
Third. Yeah, well, Lance, I assume will get somewhere. So
here's, and I know we do a lot of the quarterback discussion for TV. Let's try and make sure we talk about the best players. So we at least have some of that. We have to talk about the quarterback because everyone loves the quarterbacks, but let's talk about the best players.
Are the producers listening? Are the producers listening to the show?
But you hear it, like you'll hear it like with you'll hear it with the analysts when you're watching all the different networks about like how do you not take it? You don't have one, you have to take one. And I'm like, not necessarily. Not in the first round. If you don't love them, just take one that you take another player you love and take your swing on the
year group of the second round quarterback right here. Let's go.
I know. And then you know what inevitably happens, and everybody starts. It's like poker, you know. Everybody starts looking around. Wait, hold on. They haven't gone yet. Let's hold off here. Let's just Nobody needs to raise the pot here. Nobody needs to raise the pot. Right. Let's just see another card.
Check.
Check. Free look here. That's what it is. All right. Anything else you guys want to get into before we get out of here? This was fun to be back together again, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like playing the this or that's. I think there's a million more we could get to, and we should probably do some semblance of that here for the next couple of weeks.
I gave you guys one story as we head out. You guys knew I was gone last week. I was in Hawaii and celebrate my anniversary, and we're walking back. My wife and I went out to dinner. We're walking back through a different hotel than the one we were at, and we're looking around, and I go, oh, babe, these are NFL players. I just look around. So there's a lot of NFL players here. And she's like, how do you know? I'm like, how do you know? I'm like, I'm body typing them.
Body scouting.
She's like, you can't know that they're NFL players. I'm all, yeah, look at the bodies and look at the watch. Like the combination of the body with the watch, 100% they're NFL players. And she's like, you don't know that. I kid you not. Within 60 seconds of her saying, you can't know that. Harrison Phillips from Dirty Harry from the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
DJ, what's up? I'm like, Harrison, what are you doing over here? So we start talking. The NFLPA meetings next door.
The PA meetings were there.
Right.
It was literally all those guys walking around there. So it was great to catch up with him. What a good dude, man. But it was funny. Come on, like Buck, we can't turn body typing off.
It never stops.
I don't care if you're at the mall, you'll see somebody like, I know he's somebody. I don't know who he is, but I know he's somebody. Anyways, all right, that's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. We'll see you next time. We'll be coming to you from the Big 12 Pro Days in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have an episode coming your way, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, we appreciate you, and hope you have a wonderful week.